Hi, my name is Rachel Barre, and I'm here to talk about making homemade bread. Have you ever made homemade bread? It's a very interesting experience your first time. So what I would like to do is cover some tips that will make it easier for you to have success sooner. When I first started making bread, it took me about 4 or 5 times to get it exactly right to where the bread tasted amazing. So I'm going to cover 3 things: the yeast preparation, the importance of ingredients, and then also how to knead the dough. In yeast preparation, a typical recipe will tell you something like this that I have here. I have a little recipe here, and what it says is add sugar and yeast to warm water and then let proof. So what that really means is I take the 3 cups of warm water that it is talking about, heat it up to 110 degrees, pretty close to that. Try not to go more than 5 degrees above that or 5 degrees below, or the yeast won't activate correctly. I always use something like this, which is active dry yeast, and that is different from instant yeast because it does take a little bit of time to activate it, about 5 minutes. I like it though, it's a little bit more of a natural yeast awakening, if you can put it that way. Anyway, so you heat up your water and place the yeast and the sugar, as it says, into the water, and then stir it up a little bit to make sure that the yeast is mixed up correctly with the water, and leave it sit for about 5 minutes. And then you add your flour and your salt. And what it says in this recipe is to stir in the 4 cups of flour before you place the salt in, and that has not been a good experience for me with bread. I usually always put the salt in first. If you don't put the salt in, your bread will taste like cardboard, and you don't want that, and you won't eat it, and you won't ever want to try to make bread again because it will taste so very bad. So what I do once the yeast is prepared is I put the salt in, and then I start adding the flour. And generally I add the flour 1 cup at a time and mix it slowly, first with a fork, and then use my hands to knead it together as you get to all 7 cups of flour that you'll need for a typical recipe such as this one. Now, once I've got it all together in the bowl and it's solid enough to where I can put it on the board, this right here is some dough that is ready to be kneaded. So what you have here is dough, and what it does not tell you how to knead in any recipe that I've seen. But what I've found is I start by rolling it over like this, and then pushing away from me, and then I keep folding it so it fits the cutting board. It doesn't have to be an exact size or shape, just so it's comfortable so you can knead it comfortably. And I keep rolling it, push it forward, knead it, push it forward. And then rolling it, push it forward, and as it gets bigger, I roll it over, start over again. I keep rolling it in again. It doesn't really matter, it doesn't have to be a certain way. Just make sure that you keep pushing it and rolling it until it gets, as this recipe says, it says knead until soft and smooth as a bambino's behind. So, if you don't know what a bambino is, this is what a bambino's behind will look like when you're done kneading for the first time. So, and each recipe can call for different levels of kneading. This one in particular only requires 1, which is nice. As you can see, it looks like smooth as a bambino's behind. And it shouldn't be sticky. You should not have sticky dough when you're getting ready for its first rise. You should be able to handle it just like this and have no problem with it. Please remember to wash your hands before you touch any food. Okay, so I'm going to place this in here, and now it's going to be ready to rise. And a really good way to keep bread in a nice, stable, warm environment is to stick it into your stove with the light on, so crack the stove open. Don't turn the stove on. Just put it in there so it'll stay nice and warm and it doesn't have any air coming over it. Yeast really likes just a nice, warm, stable temperature situation. Now, you've got that rising, and then pretty much from there on you can follow the recipe, and you shouldn't have any problem finishing the bread. I want to go over a little bit more in the ingredients. The flour. This flour right here, this is unbleached bread flour. Now, if you're going to be a professional, you'll probably go to the cook supply store and get gluten-free flour. That's really awesome for bread. But this is what I could find in the store, and that's what I wanted to show you so that you can go to your store and just find exactly what I have. And this is unbleached bread flour, and it may not say unbleached bread flour. It may say, it doesn't have to be unbleached. It may say bread making flour or something like that. All-purpose flour makes the bread kind of crumbly, and it doesn't make a really good bread flour, because the bread tends to just kind of crumble and fall apart instead of holding together like you have in your nice Italian breads or French breads, any of those kind of breads. They're all made with gluten-free flour or some kind of bread baking flour. So keep all of this in mind, and remember, don't forget the salt. Make sure the water is the right temperature for the yeast, and knead the dough until it is smooth as a bambino's butt. Have fun and good luck. Thank you.